It's Monday, May 2nd, and this is now on HNN. Heavy rain and thunderstorms are possible for parts of the state. Billy V has your latest forecast. New data shows how ridership numbers could be affected by shortening the Honolulu rail route.
American diplomats return to Ukraine today as evacuations in Mariupol continue. I'm Deborah Alfarone at the White House, where President Biden is hoping Congress will approve his request for billions more in aid to Ukraine.
These stories, plus it's Teacher Appreciation Week. We'll tell you what companies are offering educators freebies for all they do. Details coming up on This Is Now.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for joining us for This Is Now. You have Ashley and Casey here in the Digital Center, and we want to get right to weather. And first, I wanted to show folks, this is the live tower cam, Ash, and you can see it's moving around quite a bit more than we're used to here on a Monday afternoon.
That's right. That's because heavy rains and thunderstorms are affecting parts of the state. Maui County says the severe weather has triggered landslides and road damage in East Maui, forcing officials to close multiple sections of Pi'ilani Highway between mile markers 19, that's in Kahikinui, and mile marker 39 in Kipahulu. Now, crews are responding and drivers are urged to avoid the areas since the affected roadways will remain closed until further notice. Let's send it over now to Billy V for your latest forecast.
Happy Aloha Monday. Let's give you your midday forecast. First of all, let's talk about the waves for a little bit because waves are on the way up. 6 to 8 feet on the north shore, and there's a north swell. South facing shore, there's another swell there, a different swell. East side is 5 to 7, and that is really kind of blown out. It's a trade wind swell. North shore and the south shore numbers will go up tomorrow. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Island Day Planet. Now, we're showing you the morning numbers just to kind of show you that it was maybe some rain, but it was kind of calmer as we were on all the islands here in the morning. But now we're into the midday. For Kauai, they say, or the National Weather Service says that thunderstorms are expected. We have possible heavy showers for Oahu, thunderstorms for Maui County and Hawaii Island. For Hawaii Island, that's going to be a Hilo side, Hamakua area. For Kauai, that's going to be more the North Shore. Hanalei, Kilauea, Anahola, so just kind of some caution there. As we get to the afternoon hours, look at this, 73 degrees, but notice thunderstorms here, also thunderstorms for Maui County and for Hawaii Island. Maybe Oahu looks like that they may avoid the thunderstorms, but still heavy rainfall is possible according to the National Weather Service. And with the precipitation of the last couple of days, the ground can be saturated with water, so it's not going to take much water to possibly have flooding conditions occur. So today, east-northeasterly 15 to 25 miles per hour. There's the thunderstorms of today. As we move through the week, it gets better from mostly cloudy to partly cloudy skies, breezy, but then by Saturday, regular trade winds, and by Sunday, those winds go light. Get the latest on air, online, on your mobile device, and at hawaiinewsnow.com. Stay dry. Let's get you back to This Is Now.
Today, a new rule is in effect for properties along the coast. The Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources says all real estate transactions across the state must now include disclosures about the risk of sea level rise. State officials cite the example of North Shore homes at risk of being washed away. The rule applies to oceanfront and near oceanfront properties. It's also in effect for properties near streams and in areas that are prone to flooding.
New data shows the city's plan to shorten the Honolulu rail route could shrink the number of people who will use the trains on a daily basis. As first reported by Honolulu Civil Beat today, the Rail Authority's newly released recovery plan estimates that about 84,000 people will use the rail each weekday in the year 2030. A full 20-mile route going to Ala Moana was expected to have daily ridership of more than 100,000. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi is proposing a shorter route that stops at Kaka'ako, saying he's trying to secure federal funding and keep the project under $10 billion. 2 pets were killed in a large house fire in the Macaulay area. We've also learned 2 women are recovering from smoke inhalation. HFD says it started around 11 a.m. yesterday. The second story of that home, as you can see, completely gutted by the fire. The first floor sustained heavy water damage. Officials say an electrical arc in a bedroom sparked the flames.
Some people heard an initial boom and then the fire started. I heard a couple bangs, but I think it was from glass breaking and things inside going pow.
Damage there estimated at $580,000. HFD was called out to the same building last night around 9:45. It seemed a hot spot had flared up from the previous fire. 4 families are being assisted by the Red Cross. Fire investigators say Thursday's fire in the Waialae-Kahala area was accidental. We're told the fire was caused by a portable power cord. HFD got the call around 2 in the afternoon for the fire on Uluawai Street, just off Kilauea Avenue. Authorities say it cost $815,000 in damage to 2 properties.
The Kohala High School athletic director has been arrested. West Hawaii Today reports that Laurie Kostick was taken into custody on suspicion of theft and criminal tampering. The Department of Education reports that she has been placed on leave as the investigation continues.
Happening today, construction begins on the new pedestrian bridge over Ala Moana Boulevard in Kaka'ako. It's going to be located between Ward Avenue and Kamake'e Street. It's estimated that more than 2,000 pedestrians and bicyclists will use the elevated walkway every day. State officials say it's important to give them a safe pathway, considering 40,000 vehicles use that portion of Ala Moana Boulevard every day. They're also warning drivers and residents to expect delays.
There's going to be 5 full closures during a weekend to ensure that we can launch structures over. But we'll give everybody a whole bunch of notice beforehand so we can plan for it.
Officials say there will be no lane closures in the first 2 weeks of work, but after that, expect delays and lane closures. The total cost of the bridge, just under $18 million, most of that money coming from the federal government.
A jury has convicted the first person of assaulting a police officer during the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, and the assailant just happens to be a former police officer himself. Prosecutors showed former NYPD officer Thomas Webster using a flagpole to assault a D.C. police officer, Noah Rathburn. Webster claimed self-defense. He was convicted on all 6 counts in his indictment. The assault charge is punishable by up to 20 years in prison, although sentencing guidelines likely will recommend a shorter prison term. Today, U.S. Embassy staff took a day trip to Ukraine with the goal of returning to the capital by May. Democrats in Congress are eyeing a similar timeline to pass a major Ukraine aid package. This as images of hope emerge as rescued civilians who are trapped in a steel plant in Mariupol return to safety. Deborah Alfarone has more.
American diplomats returned to Ukraine Monday, holding a news conference in Lviv.
We expect to continue to do day trips. We very much hope that the conditions will permit us to go back into Kyiv by the end of the month.
Buses carried civilians rescued from the bombarded steel plant in Mariupol to safety, and there are plans to evacuate more. This woman says all the time we spent in the bunker, they were bombing. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and a delegation of fellow Democrats met with the Polish president in Warsaw after a secret trip to Kyiv over the weekend.
This is crucial moment in politics for us.
Congressional Democrats are hoping to pass the president's request for an additional $33 billion in Ukraine aid by the end of the month.
President Biden is traveling Tuesday to a Lockheed Martin facility in Alabama that produces Javelin missiles, which is among the weapons the U.S. has provided to Ukraine.
He will deliver remarks about the security assistance we are providing, highlighting the urgency of the request to Congress to pass funding quickly.
Russia's assault rages on in the eastern and southern parts of the country, though Ukrainian forces continue to fight back. Ukraine's naval forces released this video, which they say shows a drone strike on Russian patrol boats in the Black Sea. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
The Blood Bank of Hawaii will join a nationwide fundraising effort to provide essential blood supplies for Ukraine. The bank will make a financial contribution for those who donate blood from now until next Sunday. The goal is to raise $250,000 for Ukraine.
As you know, as the war in Ukraine has progressed and patients and medical community, everything has been completely impacted. Blood banks, transfusion centers, they've all had supplies that were either damaged or completely destroyed, and they're struggling. And so this campaign is really our response to that.
If you're interested in helping, just visit bbh.org.
Suzanne Skold is the Chief Operating Officer for Aloha United Way, an organization that's making a big investment in a number of local nonprofits that could mean a lot of very good things for local families in need. Our Steve Uehara interviewed her earlier today on Sunrise.
What exactly is Aloha United Way doing here?
Aloha United Way is partnering with Hawaii Community Foundation, and for the next 3 years, we'll be working together on the Alice Initiative, and this will fund 17 other nonprofits in the community, and together we'll be investing $4.5 million in these nonprofits and their work from 2022 to 2024.
Yeah, Alice, of course, being asset limited, income constrained, employed. So what specifically are they targeting? Obviously, this is something that's incredibly important, and it's a big population here in Hawaii, but how specifically are you looking to help them?
It's a great question. There's so many places where there's need, and we recognize there's lots of agencies doing fantastic work across the community. However, the Alice Initiative is focused on two really critical areas. We're focused on increasing financial stability for Alice households and for increasing the amount of accessible, safe, and affordable housing for families so that they can stay housed, whether they're renting or owning.
Yeah.
And so those are our two areas that we are bringing together this cohort to work on, and we'll be doing that together in a collective impact model, working on the same metrics, the same goals, and hopefully really moving the needle in these two critical areas for Hawaii.
Yeah, and this collaboration, I would imagine, is going to have a broader impact than it normally would. But what makes this so special, this partnership, and how is it different from what we've seen in the past?
This is a really exciting way to do work. As we know, there's never enough funding, and we're always looking for more resources. And so when we're working with nonprofits, this is a way to amplify those resources, partly by partnering with Hawaii Community Foundation. We're bringing together two large funders that have long relationships with nonprofits in our communities. However, we're also helping the nonprofits work on the same metrics. This is multi-year funding, so it's really long-term, looking at the root causes of some of the issues that we have around financial stability and housing, and finding ways to address those together. We also believe it's very important that it's not just our nonprofit community actively working on these issues. And so a lot of our work in the next 3 years will also be inviting the business community and working collaboratively with our policymakers to help make a difference in these areas and identify ways that we can find the positive changes for the families that are struggling right now.
Yeah, it looks like it has real promise. So obviously there's a lot of people watching that could potentially help with this. How do we donate? How do we give of our time, or what do you guys need?
There's so many ways to be involved. Thank you for asking. If they go to alohaunitedway.org, you can click on the Alice tab. There's information about recent reports, the scope of the problem, how families have been affected by COVID. There's places there where they can donate directly to the Alice Fund so that we can send out even more resources to the community. And Aloha United Way also has opportunities for individuals and businesses to get involved as volunteers, in-kind donations. And I think that the other place that I would ask everyone to take a moment to is to really educate themselves and understanding the scope of the issue that we're talking about. When we say Alice households, we're talking about up to 59% of our community. So this is truly everyone. It's our neighbors, it's our friends, it's our coworkers, often it's ourselves. And if we can come together and understand that this is really everyone's problem to help solve, I think that we can make a real difference.
Hawaii lawmakers could pass a measure this week that would better monitor and protect children in foster care. Hawaii's child welfare system could get millions of dollars in funding. Our Jelani Martinez reports.
State lawmakers say it's a monumental bill to provide support for the child welfare system, making sure no at-risk child is left in the dark.
I really don't want to see or hear about another Peter Boykema or Ariel Sellers in the next year or so. We're hoping with all of these supports that we won't.
A need to strengthen the child welfare system was proposed following the death of 6-year-old Isabella Kalua, born Ariel Sellers, whose foster parents have been charged with her murder. The bill includes expanding investigative powers.
If there is a complaint filed by, let's say, a teacher, a neighbor, or a worker regarding the safety of that child in that home, the department then will need to monitor that family to ensure the safety of the placement, not just for that incident, but ongoing.
In addition, up to $8 million will go toward resources for the Department of Human Services. Child Welfare System's job vacancy rate stands at 20%.
Department has always struggled to be able to not only attract and train, but also retain good child welfare services because of the stress. We wanted to balance that off, knowing that if we want more and want more things done, that we have to give them the resources.
Funding will also go toward recruiting, training, and supporting resource caregivers or foster families.
And they're the ones really where we need to recruit and train how to deal with these traumatized children. That we found out that the monies that we had initially thought of about giving CWS was not enough. Okay. The budget for the resource caregivers had been severely cut.
Under the bill, a task force was created to monitor the department's actions.
And so we need the participation of all of them to give their mana'o so we can come up with a good, consistent plan.
Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
It's Hurricane Preparedness Week, and with hurricane season beginning in about a month, officials are urging residents to prepare now. Casey was at City Mill earlier today and filed this report.
Aloha from City Mill. This is a great place to come to stock up, of course, before a hurricane season gets here. And this is the week to do it. They always have the essentials, things like flashlights, rope, duct tape, dry bags, water storage. This is something that you can get up to 14 days worth of water, even more in your bathtub. Keep it clean and food safe. City Mill also always rolls out new products. They've got these solar panels that can charge your phone, or even this battery that will store a lot of power if you end up losing power during a hurricane or another storm. Last week, Governor Ige and the National Weather Service reminded us to start our preps now. That includes simply having a plan, building that hurricane kit. It's recommended that you have 14 days worth of supplies, including food, water, medicine. In case all communications are cut off, the National Weather Service and High EMA say you should choose one point of contact outside the state. Governor Ige says this is no time to get complacent, especially with how close Hawaii came to being hit by Hurricane Douglas, which just narrowly passed the islands by in 2020.
This was not the case a couple of years earlier in 2018, when several tropical cyclones threatened the state in that year. That included Hurricane Lane and Tropical Storm Olivia, which did impact the state. It just takes one storm to devastate a community and affect your life and the lives of your family for a long time.
Of course, it's nearly impossible to try to predict exactly when and where a giant storm could hit this year, but the National Weather Service says they should be releasing a general forecast for the season on May 18th. At least 3 people are dead after a devastating tornado ripped through a central Kansas town. Morgan Chesky reports.
In Kansas, one mangled mile after another, following a Friday nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
An EF3 tornado packing winds topping 160 miles per hour. This drone video capturing a rare glimpse of the Andover twister. And while you can't hear it, the image's stunning. You can see debris suck skyward as the funnel forms, seconds before the twister starts tearing through homes.
We were not prepared when we came outside to see all of this, so it's pretty shocking.
Eric and Melanie Barney showed the closet where the entire family hid, praying as the tornado closed in.
We could hear the glass shattering out there, so had no idea what was happening.
Officials crediting early warnings with 0 tornado deaths, but the storm didn't leave without tragedy.
It was Gavin's 12th tornado.
Beth and Ellen Short say their son Gavin, a top meteorology student at the University of Oklahoma, called to say he was storm chasing Friday with 2 friends, Nicholas Nair and Drake Brooks.
We love that Gavin was spreading his wings. This is just the worst nightmare for us and 2 other sets of parents.
The group safely witnessed the Kansas tornado and was driving back to campus when authorities say their car hydroplaned, putting it in the path of a semi-truck.
They were all watching each other's trackers just to make sure that everyone was making it back to Norman. And they noticed that all 3 of their beacons had stopped moving.
Authorities say Gavin, Nicholas, and Drake died at the scene. Their lives honored by the National Weather Service, who launched a special weather balloon to pay tribute. the university mourning 3 of their own, friends chasing a dream together. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
So tragic and incredible video there.
Yeah, it was. That drone video especially, where you can just see how powerful that was.
Yeah.
Thoughts definitely with their family there.
Yeah, so let's see what the internet's talking about, you guys. In Washington, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, one of the Capitol's big social events, returned on Saturday for the first time in 3 years. Now, high-profile celebrities joined journalists and government officials, including President Biden, despite concerns of COVID. Here's Ed O'Keefe with more.
I'm really excited to be here tonight with the only group of Americans with a lower approval rating than I have.
Armed with a few one-liners, President Biden was the first commander-in-chief to headline the White House Correspondents' Dinner since 2016.
This is the first time the president attended this dinner in 6 years. It's understandable. We had a horrible plague, followed by 2 years of COVID.
Canceled for 2 years by the pandemic, this year's dinner drew more than 2,000 journalists, politicians, and, yes, a few celebrities who had to be vaccinated and test negative for COVID. But that didn't stop the jokes.
It is my great honor to be speaking tonight at the nation's most distinguished super spreader event.
The Daily Show's Trevor Noah dished out the biggest laughs, mostly at the president's expense.
Ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
CBS News Radio's Stephen Portnoy led the evening as president of the Correspondents Association.
Our democracy depends on journalists shining light and truth upon darkness and lies, and bringing accountability to officials at every level of our government.
The president and Noah agreed that despite the pandemic, laughter and partying, calling out those in position of power is a distinctly American trait.
And Trevor, the really good news is now you get to roast the President of the United States. And unlike in Moscow, you won't go to jail.
I stood here tonight and I made fun of the President of the United States, and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine, right? Do you really understand what a blessing it is?
The dinner's a lot of fun, but it's also for a good cause. The White House Correspondents Association handed out more than $130,000 in scholarships to 31 students at 15 colleges and universities. Ed O'Keefe, CBS News, the White House.
I always kind of dreamed of going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
They call it nerd prom.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got to tell you about this. So one other cool internet story before we get to our good news. It's one of the largest diamonds in the world, worth an estimated $30 million.
Let's see it. Oh.
It is finally making a public debut when it goes up for auction. It was on CBS this morning as well. They got to hold it. Gail King did. It's appropriately called The Rock, and it's the size of an egg.
Wow.
The jewel was mined in South Africa 20 years ago. The owner, who's remaining anonymous, now plans to auction it through Christie's in Geneva, Switzerland.
All right, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, you guys, and to thank our educators, some companies are giving away freebies, and this is what we found so far. Jack in a Box Hawaii wants teachers to start their day off with a little bit of liquid joy. So today until Thursday, all school faculty can get one free iced or hot coffee of any size by just showing up at their neighborhood location, show an ID or a pay stub when ordering. McDonald's is giving out a free medium iced coffee or hot coffee until Sunday. This offer can be redeemed once a day per person, again ID required. And Jamba Juice showing its gratitude to teachers with a buy one get one free smoothie deal. So that offer is available only tomorrow, so that's Tuesday. Again, you just need an ID or a pay stub.
Very good. Shout out to our friend Catherine. We just celebrated her birthday. She's one of Hawaii's awesome teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get enough pay or credit.
Yes, we love them. Thanks for watching. This is Now, everyone. We have the latest headlines coming up later.